Hey everybody, it's Galmadex and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today will be my very first quick draft of the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms format. However, I have done several premiere drafts before, so I've got some experience under my belt. And yeah, let's just hop into this. So our rare is pretty incredible. Hand of Vecna works incredibly well in any aggressive deck. If you draw this early on in the game or in your opening hand, it's absolutely fantastic. Always going to be a bit of a bummer to draw this in the late game as you won't have that many cards in hand to give that big of a buff, but this card is so absurdly good early on in the game that it is definitely worth a pick one, pack one. It also leaves us open to being any colors, no matter what we get passed by the bots here. So I'm very happy to take Hand of Vecna here. If it wasn't in the pack, I think the top few cards would be like Battlecry Goblin. This has been sort of a mythic rare uncommon to me in that it really puts a ton of pressure on your opponent to blow this thing up quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be creating goblins or potentially just finding a way to get lethal in the late game with that ability to buff all of your goblins for only 2 mana. There are a decent amount of other good goblins in red in the format at common and uncommon. So you could play this, and then on turn 5, you could play the 4/3 that spits out some goblin tokens. That is a massive amount of damage you could be spitting out with the fire breathing ability on this card. There's also Grim Bounty here, which is great removal. I think these are the top 2 cards outside of the Hand of Vecna, followed by some decent stuff, the Aggressive Captain, Knoll Hunter, Green Dragon in the Sky. But Hand of Vecna, the easy pick one, pack one here. Pack 2, we've got some options, none of which are quite as clear as before. We have Farida Devil's Chosen, which is an incredibly good card. However, it is a gold card. It would only be able to be played if we're playing blue and red. It would tie us into 2 colors in that way. Alternatively, we have Burning Hands, which is okay removal, but not fantastic. 2 damage for 2 mana. However, if we're playing against green, it'll be great removal, dealing 6 damage to green cards. Outside of those 2, we've got the decent draw spell, Contact Other Plane, that I do like. Actually, not a whole lot after that, maybe like a Veteran Dungeoneer being solid for the cost, and Valor Singer as well being solid. So I think it's between the Devil's Chosen and the Burning Hands here. Really depends on how much I don't want to tie myself into 2 colors. But I think this card is good enough with the amount of dice rolling you can get in the format that I'm okay taking the 2 color card here, and then worst case scenario, we just end up cutting it over the Burning Hands. Ooh, a Red Dragon here in the uncommon slot. Really solid follow-up to taking another red card. Just a great game-ending dragon here. 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Deals 4 to each opponent when it comes into play. Outside of that, we do have Grim Bounty in black, which is great. However, I'm not really looking to play 3 color. This is one of the downsides of taking a 2 color card like Farida here, is now I am going to take probably Red Dragon over Grim Bounty, whereas maybe it would still be correct to just take the Grim Bounty. But other than that, I think I'm fine with the Red Dragon here. I do like Purple Worm as well, but yeah, I think Grim Bounty is probably better than the Purple Worm, so I don't see any world in which I'd end up taking the Purple Worm there. We do have that Swarming Goblins that I was talking about to go with the Uncommon Goblin. If we wheel it, I highly doubt that'll happen. I don't think the bots will be that dumb. Unfortunately, nothing great in blue. Pretty filler card, the Rime Shield Frost Giant here. I think I just like Swarming Goblins better than that generally, because even by itself, being a 4/3 that gives you at least 1 body alongside it is pretty solid. So I do like Swarming Goblins quite a bit. We could also take Bruno or Battle Hammer and just tie ourselves into red here. Potentially be blue-red or blue-white. This allows us to equip our Hand of Vecna for free. Although the Hand of Vecna, we could already do that just by paying life. But red and white will be a pretty aggressive color pair, which is going to work really well with Hand of Vecna. Hand of Vecna is a card that incentivizes you to run as many 2-mana creatures as possible, so that you can slam down something like a Steadfast Paladin and then turn 3 slam down the Hand of Vecna, pay a bunch of life, get it equipped and swinging immediately. So we're already looking to be pretty aggressive here with the hand. Yeah, I think we could definitely end up in a red-white Brunor Battle Hammer deck. Now, We don't have so much great stuff in red. I don't love these little aggressive cards here. The combat trick and the haste card. Not a fan of either of them, really. I do like you hear something on watch if we want to commit into red-white here. But we could also take Power of Persuasion in case we do still go blue-red with Farida instead of Brunor. And I think I will take Power of Persuasion because you hear something on watch is just fine. Not incredible, but it's solid. Alright, no white cards here, no red cards. I guess technically there is the mediocre combat trick of Ambushed on the Road, but not a huge fan of that one. I'll just take the decent blue removal. Ray of Frost. Keeps a tapped creature tapped, or if you target a red creature with this, you get to tap it down and then keep it tapped and shut off its abilities. So very good against red, mediocre against other colors, but the fact that every now and then it's pretty good means that it's okay to run as mediocre removal in the main deck. I guess we have a Contact Other Plane here. This will work very well with Farida, as well as just being a draw spell that I'm quite a fan of. Don't love these cards. I guess I'll just take like a Sepulchre Ghoul. I guess Air Cult Elemental's fine. It is just a lot of mana. Yeah, it's solid. Ooh, I do like getting a Hoarding Ogre here. That's going to work really well with Farida, Devil's Chosen, because that'll give us a die to roll every single turn. However, we do also have the 2-mana aggressive creature to go with our Hand of Vecna, which is also spectacular, as well as Hobgoblin Captain just being one of the best 2-drops in the set, one of the best 2-mana creatures to be fighting around with. This is actually a really hard choice. I guess I do have a lot going on at 4-6 mana already. 2-drops are pretty important in the format, but Hoarding Ogre is such a good card. I think I am going to take the Hobgoblin Captain over it, though, just to make sure our Hand of Vecna has targets. Take Price of Loyalty here. I don't think we'll end up in like red-black, but Brazen Dwarf's not very exciting, even if we are blue-red dice rolling. We much prefer the blue flyer that doubles our dice rolls. Yeah, just start taking some random cards for red-black, I guess. If they're going to go that late. Yeah, Shambling Ghast is not unplayable either. So pack 2 here. Honestly, the best card that we have by far is still Hand of Vecna. If I just do a quick sort by colors here, we're not super tied into anything here. I think we're closest to being tied to red because of the fact that both of our gold cards are red. Just trying to see if there's a world in which we should take Froghemoth here. If we take Froghemoth, then we're saying we're not going to play either of these gold cards unless we're using treasures. I guess red does have access to treasures, so we could splash these in potentially. Yeah, the other cards in this pack just aren't that exciting if I'm just taking a red or a blue card here. In red, there's just a Dueling Rapier. In blue, we have a second Air Cult Elemental, a little Clever Conjurer for ramp, Secret Door, Guild Thief. Guild Thief would be nice with Hand of Vecna. So I think if we're not taking Froghemoth, we're probably just taking Guild Thief, and I don't think Guild Thief is good enough to warrant just passing up on Froghemoth even though it's off color. It's just a 5-mana 4/4 trample haste that could get better if they have cards in graveyard. Is pretty great all around, all things said and done. So now, I do like Improvised Weaponry here. It gives us a mediocre removal spell, but attached onto that mediocre removal spell is a treasure token, which is quite valuable. Helps you splash things, helps you ramp into a 5-drop on turn 4, like a Froghemoth. So Improvised Weaponry has been a lot more impressive than it's looked. So I kind of do like taking the weaponry here. And red, again, I think is the color we're most tied to because of the gold cards. Now a Hoarding Ogre would be really nice to spit out some treasure tokens. Make sure that we have access to the colors that we need to be able to do everything we want to do. Because I'm still unsure about our colors here. Well, some great white equipment here. The plate armor to go with our Brunor. However, there's also a Plundering Barbarian that creates a treasure when it comes into play. And if we don't need the treasure token or they have a good artifact out, we can destroy an artifact when it comes into play instead. Probably safest to just scoop up that Plundering Barbarian, but I'm kind of interested in just taking the plate armor there for a Brunor deck. It is quite a good equipment. And it gets better the more equipment that you have, or at least gets cheaper to equip. Do you really want Steadfast Paladins to throw the equipments onto? The Hand of Vecna and the plate armor. But I think we take the plate armor first. I am very, very much fingers crossed for good 2-drop creatures at this point. Probably should have taken them much higher. Now we're getting mediocre equipment like Paladin Shield. I guess we can go with Druid class here for if we go with the green deck. For red-blue, we don't have much. We have Arcane Investigator, which potentially combos with Farida, but at the point that we have 6 mana to start rolling that anyway, we're just drawing cards off the Investigator itself. I guess it's another 2-drop for the Hand of Vecna as well. The only green card we have is Froghemoth, so it's pretty unlikely. Yeah, we'll take Arcane Investigator. Take a look at our curve now. It is kind of looking like we are moving back into just blue-red here. But we do definitely have some treasures to think about our off-color cards. So I have 2 creatures at 2 mana right now. I definitely want more of those. Kind of interested in another Hoarding Ogre. I don't know if we're aggressive enough for the pair of goblins to be great here, because we just have 2 2-drop creatures. So we don't have a million creatures to be using charge them all that much. And a couple 1/1s are fine. They are better with equipment. We do have at least 1 good equipment here. Yeah, I'll go with the pair of goblins here. I think with equipment that would justify them quite a bit more, because then even just small creature tokens can become a massive threat. And we do have some treasure production to potentially splash in the plate armor. Maybe even plate armor and Brunor. Go red, blue, white here. Red, blue with a tiny white splash. I could see that. Don't love Silver Raven or Goblin Javelineer, but they give us another creature we can get out before turn 3 for Hand of Vecna. And the only alternative really is the +2 mace, which I highly doubt that we'll be splashing in, when we can just splash in plate armor instead. I would prefer to only splash in like 2 or 3 cards max, so I don't think +2 mace will be worth it. I guess we could take Keen-Eared Sentry here. Just a 2-drop to play. A 2/1's a bit better than one of those just 1/1 creatures. And that would be speculating on being able to do the full pivot into red-white equipments. We have primarily red here, so it's possible. We're not missing out on a lot by missing a Goblin Javelineer or a Silver Raven, so sure. Take the white card there. Alright, take another white 2-drop. Secret Door and Clever Conjurer are both fine, but not great. I do like the Dawnbringer Cleric. I like Dungeon Map because it ramps you into your big spells, and then when you no longer need the mana that it provides, it gives you a mana sink to keep doing things in the late game. At this point, I think I am just taking Brazen Dwarf for another 2-mana creature to throw a Hand of Vecna onto. Alright. I don't think the Black Staff of Waterdeep is all that playable. An artifact that for 2 mana you turn another non-token artifact you control into a 4/4, as long as it remains tapped. No, it's just not great. Really wish that could hit treasure tokens, because that would make the card playable and kind of fun to try to build around with, but it doesn't. I think, again, we keep red as the core and just take the best red card for us here, which I think is the Hulking Bugbear. Just love how aggressive this card is, 3 mana for 3/3 haste, but Swarming Goblins is super solid as well. Yeah, these two are, I think, the best red cards for us right now. I guess alternatively Armory Veteran, because I don't know if it'll wheel through the bots. Ideally it would, but like if this were Premier Draft, I'd be almost guaranteed to wheel the Veteran, and the Veteran works very well with Hand of Vecna. Turn 2 Veteran, turn 3, slap Vecna onto it. Yeah, I guess we really never know with the bots, so I'll just take the Armory Veteran straight up here. Do like the Plundering Barbarian giving us more treasures. We also have Evolving Wilds we could take for a splash. I think I'll go with the Barbarian though. Some great white stuff here, and the blue stuff's just okay, just a Soul Knife Spy really. Take the Great White removal, the Minimus Containment here. Wow, yeah, we're getting all white from this direction. Maybe we do get to go red-white here at the end. Would be interesting to see. Moonblast Cleric's okay when we have a Minimus Containment. Ideally, we have like a class. That's also good. Unfortunately, we're stuck between so many colors here. And in an aggressive strategy, we really don't want to be like a 3-color deck. Like maybe we can splash a tiny bit, but that's the most I'd want to do. Because we want to make sure that our mana is as consistent as possible so we can always curve out. And because of the fact that I'm only going to be running 2 colors, most likely, maybe a small splash, that means I'm going to end up cutting a lot of cards that I've drafted here. And because of that, we need a lot more non-land cards to complete this deck. So I don't think I can justify spending picks on an Evolving Wilds here. As decent as it would be, I think I need something that's going to get in this deck for sure. I am low on removal, that is for sure. I have Improvised Weaponry and Minimus Containment. Could use it here, something on Watch. It's good on the aggressive, or we get to use it as removal on the defensive. Yeah, I think we just make sure that we solidify ourselves into a full, complete red-white deck here. Take another Plate Armor there. Very nice pickup. Another Hoarding Ogre's solid. Could use like 1 Earth Cult Elemental so we have something to ramp into with all the treasures we're getting from the ogres. But the ogres could also just help splash. If we want to go for a splash. Don't like Divine Smite. Phasing something out is really not a card you want in your deck. Yeah, I don't think this is as good as Burning Hands, because Burning Hands is a card that's mediocre if you're not playing against green. Divine Smite is a card that's close to unplayable if you're not playing against black. Yeah, I'm just going to take a Valor Singer here. Oh, lots of treasure tokens to eat up with a Rust Monster. That'll give us something to do with all the treasure we get out of our Hoarding Ogres. We can also eat equipment or a dungeon map with that, potentially at instant speed at some point to close out a game. Wheel the Hulking Bugbear. Well, glad I took the 2-drop over it, but I guess I'll scoop it up now. And actually, let's check now if we have enough cards to actually take an Evolving Wilds here. We have exactly enough cards to slap an Evolving Wilds in here over a You Hear Something on Watch. If we take that, what are we going to cut? Probably like a Brazen Dwarf. I only have 4 2-mana creatures. I kind of want 5, so I'll throw the mediocre one in. It combos well with the Hoarding Ogres, I guess. They'll be rolling a die every turn. Brazendorf will be dealing a damage to our opponents every turn. If we've got the Ogres going on. Price Loyalty is not great, but we have some treasure tokens to potentially just use this to attempt to finish our opponents off. Ideally, you have ways to sacrifice the creatures that you're stealing with this, if you're in like red-black or something. So that is looking like one of the first cuts. Yep, Price of Loyalty would be the cut here. So if we take you here something on watch, we're gonna play it over Price of Loyalty. We get to cut that out and have another piece of actual removal. We can also just take Evolving Wilds and hope we get one card that's more playable than Price of Loyalty in the next 4. And the worst case scenario is we just have to main deck a Price of Loyalty, which isn't great, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world if we end up with a Price Loyalty in here, so I'll take an Evolving Wilds. And we are going to get a good aggressive playable card for us, either the Boots of Speed or the Monk of the Open Hand. With Brunor Battlehammer here, plus double plate armor, kind of interested in Boots, but I'll check our creature count for Monk of the Open Hand. Only 14 creatures right now. We do want as many 1 or 2 mana creatures to throw the hand on as possible. I think I'm actually going to take the Monk of the Open Hand over the Boots of Speed here. I could be wrong, though. This is a really hard choice between these two, because the Boots is very good with Brunor out, and it's solid, just in general. But we're a little bit low on creatures. I guess you see a pair of Goblins is also a creature. So basically 15 creatures right now, still a little bit low, but not that bad. I'm going to take the Boots of Speed here. Even though I'd prefer 2 and 1 drops generally, I think Moonblessed Cleric is vastly better than Brazendorf, just because it gets to grab Minimus Containment. I guess it's not a massive amount better, but it's definitely better. It's also just higher power to be more aggressive. So 5 creatures at 2 mana. Do have a lot going on at 3. You know what? Take another Brazendorf. We just got so much going on at 3 mana. And I think this is the deck. Just exactly. Did I do my math wrong? Why do I have to cut cards still? 17. Somehow I did my math wrong, and I have to cut more cards than I thought. Oh yeah, we were going to cut Price Loyalty. Oh yeah, I'm just a little bit, I'm a little bit out of it. I realized that I had a 23 card deck, and then I stopped adding when I took more picks for it, like those creatures that I was going to throw in. So yeah, we did get to cut the Price Loyalty. We got to cut that a while ago. If I was zoned in, I would have remembered that. I guess with, you know, treasure token production and a lot of 2/3s, could cut a land here. We have equip costs to toy around with, though, costing 3. I think we just cut 1 non-land card here. Non-land, non-creature card, specifically. And Dungeon Map doesn't make the most sense in this deck. Definitely at its best in decks with a lot of 5-6 mana cards, so that you're getting a lot of value from the ramp that it gives you, as well as getting a lot of value out of the venturing in the late game when you need a mana sink. I don't think we're really getting value out of the venturing later on here. So we'll get rid of a Dungeon Map, and here's our aggressive red-white equipments deck for our first quick draft of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Not a terrible hand here. Our 2-drops aren't great, but that's just part of our deck here. Not anything to do with this opening hand in particular. Would vastly prefer 2 mana 2/2s to 2 mana 1/3s in this deck. Definitely going to play the Brazen Dwarf first and save the Dawnbringer Cleric for later, in case they get an enchantment out and we get to get some good value out of that card. Gotta trade our 3/3 down into a 3/1 here. Yeah, Hobgoblin Captain slaps. We'll see if our Valor Singer trades for the Hobgoblin Captain here. It's potentially just have removal, though. Yep. They do just have removal. Hoarding Ogre to start amassing some treasure tokens as well as pinging them off of Brazen Dwarf. Or we could just haste out a Bugbear, get damage in right now, and crack an Evolving Wilds to try to get out any mana flood. I think I'm going to go for that line. Because we have no use for the treasures. We would just be pinging them with Brazen Dwarf's ability. So I'd rather just dig land out of the deck. Well, our opponent is just stuck on Triple Mountain here, single Hobgoblin Captain. There's a Valor Singer now. Would be surprised if... Okay, I was going to say, would be surprised if they still attack, but be pretty happy with that. They've got a 2/3 to block all their stuff, one of which is a... Well, 2 of which are 3/3s. So they take 6 here, or they have to chump. Alright, down to 4. We get another creature out. Get to gain some life. Feeling pretty good here. Their 4 life, Brazen Dwarf guarantees the damage when we roll a die with the Hoarding Ogre. Yeah. Looks like they're just stuck off of the second color there. Not a great way to win a game, but it is a win nonetheless. My apologies if the commentary is not up to par today. I'm definitely feeling it. Quite tired. I generally don't record on work days. I just record on my day off. But I've been so incredibly busy lately that I haven't uploaded a video in like 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, oh, I want to get something out to you all, so I am definitely a bit out of it, a little zoned out here. Quite tired today, but still going to do my best in this draft, and if we get a free win to start it off, we might not do that terribly all around. I'll just go for a pair of goblins here, I think. Was thinking about going for a Plundering Barbarian, because just getting a treasure token out here seems pretty good. But if we can eat that Sepulchre Ghoul against a red-black deck, that's a pretty important card to kill, because it shuts off their active treasons from being able to kill our creatures. If they have their own pair of goblins, they can trade one of their goblins for one of our goblins in response. But luckily they didn't, so we just get to eat that ghoul at the cost of a 1/1, which is great. Very good trade for us. And an unexpected windfall is the play from our opponent. So now... now we just play a Hoarding Ogre. I guess we could still play Plundering Barbarian and guarantee that we get a treasure token. But the Hoarding Ogre is like, if it attacks once, we're going to get a treasure token anyway. So we'll be able to cast Red Dragon next turn. The only reason to play Plundering Barbarian is if we're like guaranteed, or if we're certain that our opponent has removal in hand that they'll use on Hoarding Ogre. Black Dragon's about the worst card they could possibly have for us there. It's a gigantic flyer that also kills our Hoarding Ogre, so it makes the Plundering Barbarian play a little worse. Or it makes the Hoarding Ogre play a little worse. However, we can Minimus Containment it here, and we can do that as well as the Plundering Barbarian, which I think is the play, because we don't have anything in our deck that costs more than 6. We already have our 6th land in hand, so we're not going to need the treasure token under the Barbarian. We could alternatively just play Minimus Containment and hold on to Plundering Barbarian, just out of fear of them playing like a good artifact, but I think that's not particularly likely. So it's probably better to get some power on this board to start hitting them with. As well as another creature that we could throw plate armor onto to make a real threat instead of just a minor one. Grim Bounty on our 2/2, it is. Well, here's a 4/4 flyer. And hopefully that was their one Grim Bounty, but I doubt it if they were wanting to use it that willy-nilly. Imarith. That's a big old mythic. Ward 4 flying. It only has ward while it's untapped, but we don't have our removal anyway. If we do draw into it, it'll be able to kill it, because it does 5 to an attacking creature. When it deals combat to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in hand, draw equal to the difference. I think we play plate armor and equip it onto Red Dragon here. Do we attack, though? Probably not. I feel like we don't attack. I guess if we attack and then they attack with Imarith, if they don't have a way to kill our Red Dragon, we kill them in 2 attacks. Yeah, it's a 2-turn clock. We'll let them draw a card off of Imarith here. If they have a way to kill this Red Dragon, that sucks, but if they don't, they might even have to just chump block with Imarith. I doubt they will, because if I were in their position and I didn't have removal for Red Dragon, I would still just attack with Imarith and hope I draw into it. Because if they have to chump block with Imarith, they're just not going to win in the first place. Ooh, Vorpal Sword. Equipped creature gets Death Touch. Now they have a Death Touch Reach blocker. Well, now we just hold off to block Imarith. Rust Monster's pretty solid here. First striking blocker. Hand of Vecna gives +1/+1 during our turn only right now, because it is late enough in the game that the hand is not great. But we can sacrifice it to a Rust Monster. We also get to equip it for only 1 life, so it's probably worth the equip. If we could just get that Drider out of the way, then we would have lethal right now, but I think they just don't attack us next turn because they'd be just throwing away the Imarith. I guess they could move the sword onto the Imarith and then we trade flyers there. Then they move the sword back. I don't think there's any reason to equip the Hand of Vecna right now because it only triggers during our combat. So I'm just going to pass. Save that 1 point of life. Ascendant Drider? That is really interesting to me. Because that'll mean they don't have a good blocker for Red Dragon anymore. Okay, I was going to say to be really happy with that. Because that would mean, what, they just move the Vorpal Sword over to Imarith and we trade dragons when I attack? I'm pretty fine with that. Hand of Vecna is only giving +2/+2 maximum here, so I'm okay sacrificing it to eat Drider. We just first strike away that card. Dragon's Fire to kill the rust monster, okay. Dreader doesn't have trample, so now that's just tapped down. We attack both, trade for Imirith, get 1 damage in here. Is that actually good? We should probably trade with Imirith. Because this is the only time we can force them to make a trade with it. If they draw into removal, that's terrible for us. If we don't go for the trade and we draw into removal, we do just win. But we've already used our Minimus Containment. We're a low removal deck. The only removal I think we guaranteed have left just deals with an attacking creature. So I really don't think that we should just sit here. I think we need to take the trade for the Imirith while we can. And then we'll trade our token into Drider if they attack. And we don't have a Hand of Vecna on the board anymore, so we may as well just play the lands out. So we're just in a top deck war here, see who's luckier at the end of it. It's going all right for me so far. Problem is, any creature they get gets Death Touch, and I need to block any creature they get, or else they can spend a bunch of mana and win the game on the spot. So we really need them to not get creatures, and Unexpected Windfall will definitely help them get creatures. We're not. Alright, well, they were dead in 2 turns still, so I think they still had a pretty good chance of stabilizing there if they had just a creature on top and I drew a land on top. But I will absolutely take another win there. I have been disconnected. Thank you, Arena. Thank you, Arena. Very cool. Alright, we're on the play. We actually have a 2-power, 2-mana card. But again, I would prefer our 2-drops to be literally just like 2-mana 2/2s with no text on them. Just some grizzly bears in here. But alas, I did not take 2-drops as aggressively as I should have early on. Doodled around with a lot of different colors at the start. Yeah, are we on the play here? I'm not sure. If we're on the play, this is great, because then 2-drop 2/1, 3-drop 3-power haste creature. Turn 4 Hoarding Ogre. Hoarding Ogre. Turn 4 Hodor. Alright, Warlock class is how our opponent wants to start things here. Turn 2, they get to use that to look at the top 3 cards of the library, put the best one in hand, the rest into grave. And throughout the game, this will be draining us a little bit of life. And once they get to level 3, it'll be draining us a lot of life. Alright, well, Horde Robber is not great. I'm just going to play the Valor Singer now so I can see if I can get rid of that Horde Robber on attacks here. Nice little trade going. And Valor Singer is going to be essentially a 3/3 every other turn by itself. Drop our Haster next turn. Sepulchre Ghoul, alright, a 2/1. If they sacrifice any other creature, it'll be a 4/3 till end of turn. They throw a fly onto it. I would be a huge fan of blowing that up and get a nice 2-for-1. Kill the Sepulchre Ghoul and the fly before they get any value out of it. Is that worth not playing a Haster? I think it is. We're just going to play a Brazen Dwarf here. And we are going to set some traps on that Sepulchre Ghoul. Take 2 of their cards out at the price of 1 here. Skullport Merchant coming in with the goods. Don't have enough mana to sacrifice them quite yet. But when they do, that'll be some great value. Well, they choose to go for the digging with the level 2 of the Warlock class. So that treasure token's gone. They won't be able to draw a card out of that later. I'm so bad at math here. I don't know what creature's better to play. They're at 17 life. I feel like it might be Hoarding Ogre because they're at 17 life. Like, Bugbear gets us 3 more damage this turn than we would otherwise. But Hoarding Ogre, it's an extra damage every single turn. So if we play it now, next turn, that's 1 more damage. I mean, I guess we could just play Hoarding Ogre next turn, and then we're only missing out on 1 turn of Brazen Dwarf damage. Yeah, I feel like we just play Bugbear here. So, if I... What's the best way to get the most damage here? I put 1 power here, they block there, take 4. I put 1 power here, they don't block that. They block there, take 5. Yeah. Make 1 a 4 power. They block the 2/3, go to 12. Evolving Wilds, grab a mountain. Get rid of some lands in our deck. Alright, 5 mana and a Death Priest of Merkle is the play. Beginning of their end step, if a creature died this turn, they get to make a 1/1. So they get to make a 2/2 for 1 mana any turn where one of their cards died. Which is really good with Skullport Merchant. If they get a single skeleton out of this, they can start looping the skeleton to draw a card off of it every single turn. 2 mana to sacrifice it. Then in the end step, 1 mana to get another skeleton. So definitely want to keep them off of getting a skeleton if we can. Ooh, a pair of goblins. Actually is pretty sweet. They can stack up a double block for 3 damage on something. But either way they do that, we get to kill the Death Priest of Merkle. I guess they could kill the Brazen Dwarf. If they kill the Brazen Dwarf, we're getting in for 6 damage this turn. They go to 6 life. Definitely worth an all-out attack again, I think. And the pair of goblins charging them might even just get us a double kill anyway. Alright, this is not going to get us a double kill, it's just going to kill a Death Priest, because if we charge in, we'll do 4 damage total. We need to deal 6, so let's just kill the Death Priest. And hit for 5. Definitely happy to get the Death Priest off the board. Now we've got our Hoarding Ogre out to start getting guaranteed damage with our Brazen Dwarf coming in. And we still have the pair of goblins in hand to potentially charge in for lethal. And they're going to scoop them up. Seem to be a bit flooded out there. Just no more creatures to get out and get blocking with, which means not lethal on board for us, but probably with the goblins in hand would be lethal. So 3-0 here, and we haven't got to turn 3 Hand of Vecna in any of these games either. So kind of just rolling so far. Our opponents have been pretty unlucky, which has been very good for us, but definitely already at least a 3-3 record, which is, in my opinion, pretty solid for how this draft went. I think I probably operated pretty poorly throughout it. Again, pretty tired today. So I do think I dirtled around in too many colors for too long when I was trying to go for a deck that was going to use Hand of Vecna. Because Hand of Vecna, the number one most important thing with it is just have 6+ 2 mana cards, so that you always have a 2-drop into turn 3 Hand of Vecna if you draw Hand of Vecna. And I dirtled around in so many different colors, just taking big, powerful cards so long that I ended up having to run a bunch of pretty mediocre 2-drops, like a bunch of 1/3s in an aggressive deck like this, that just are not that great. That being said, this game we get that turn 3 Hand of Vecna. Rolling in for 6 damage a turn. 3 mana 6/5 here. Build your own with the Keen-Eared Sentry. Our opponent is on red-black treasures. They have Kalain Reclusive Painter, the kind of namesake card for that strategy, making all of their creatures that they spend treasure tokens on bigger for each treasure token they spent on it. So that 2 mana 2/2 that draws them a card is now a 2 mana 3/3 that draws them a card, which is absolutely excellent. So a very good rate there that they got. So I think we just go for a big attack again. Don't get to play any blockers here. I get to hold up the removal spell to use on an attacker, or I can just play a plate armor but not equip it yet. I could also not attack, but if I don't attack, the Keen-Eared Sentry is just a 2/1. It doesn't get bigger on blocks, so I think it's giving us a lot more value by attacking than it would otherwise. Yeah, hit for 7 damage, put them to 6 life here. So they have to go for a chump. Super happy with that. Because they went for a chump, they have 5 damage maximum. If they don't play a haste creature, they could play another creature and sack it to the ghoul, but then that's just 4 + 1, that's just 5. That's not that scary. Kind of want to drop down the plate armor here. Makes Hand of Vecna a little worse, but gives us a really good equipment to suit up next turn. So Hand of Vecna is giving +4/+4 next turn, because we won't play a card till post-combat. We have 3 already, we'll draw an additional. Price of Loyalty, there it is, to sacrifice to the Sepulchre Ghoul. That is the 1/2 punch. They hit us for 5 here, and we lose the Keen-Eared Sentry. Plundering Barbarian is the play. 2 mana after this? Huh. I think I just hold up our removal spell, but I could slap a plate armor onto this. If I do that, though, I will be sacrificing the treasure token, which means that I don't get a guaranteed red dragon next turn, and I think a guaranteed red dragon, especially when we have a plate armor on the board, seems pretty good. I don't think it's worth it to equip the Hand of Vecna here. So I'm highly unlikely to be attacking with the Plundering Barbarian. It doesn't help on blocks. Maybe I will be attacking with it next turn, but it'll cost me at most 1 more life than it would cost me to do right now, and that is if I decide that I want to go for an attack with Barbarian, draw a card, and want to do the full +3/+3. I don't think that's all that likely, because, yeah, I was going to say it's very, very likely they just have something to block the Barbarian with. I think they blow up plate armor here at this point. Hand of Vecna is only giving +2/+2, but as soon as I get this red dragon out, I can start sandbagging every land I draw, just holding it so that Hand of Vecna can give at least +3/+3 as well. It'll be a while, though. Could block Sepulchre Ghoul here, but then I just trade our Barbarian for their Barbarian, or our Barbarian for their Kalain. I think I'm going to go for the block here, and then you hear something on watch in response. If they want to just take this trade, I'm cool with it. Okay. But then if they try to sack something to save it, I get a really good turn out of that. So it looks like we just get the trade there. Get to hold this removal for something else later. And here's our red dragon. Now Sepulchre Ghoul's off their board, so they can't kill our dragon with the active treason effect, but they could still hit us with it, and we'd take 4, 5, 6, 7. We wouldn't be dead to an active treason. Do we equip Hand of Vecna here? No, our other cards are cheap enough. We can probably afford to just pay the equip cost on this. It only costs 2 to equip. Probably not worth the life. There's a Hoarding Ogre from our opponent, giving them treasure whenever they attack with it. We get to hit for 7 here. They're dead in one more swing. We just have to survive. So we slap Hand of Vecna onto Red Dragon. Drop down a Brazendorf. I guess if I pay life for this, I can hold up our set-off traps as well. But if I pay life, I go down to 7. We also don't have to equip Hand of Vecna right now to still have them dead in 2 attacks. Because we hit for 4 right now, they go to 5 life. We hit for, Hand of Vecna is going to give at least +1/+1 next turn. If they have another Plundering Barbarian, though, that wouldn't work. But we could keep You Hear Something on Watch to give +1/+1 for lethal attack next turn in this guy. Play it super safe here, I think. Go for the maximum life total. And then I'm even going to just use Minimus Containment at sorcery speed so I can hold on to something on watch. That way, if they have another way to blow up an equipment, we can still kill them with 5 in the sky if they don't kill Red Dragon. And this way on board, they're dealing 1 damage to me. They have to have a whole ton to find lethal out of nowhere. Whereas if we're at 7, it gets a bit easier. And definitely if they still had a 3/3, it gets a bit easier. Well, there's a 4/4 now with haste. It's not good. Send in the squad. Could block like that, take 5, go to 5 life, and then I don't even have to cast something on watch to kill them. But because I have something on watch here, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to just trump block the 4 and be as safe as possible about it. Like, they could be trying to go for this attack and then they have the artifact removal to blow up the hand. And that is their big play. Their big goal here. We'll see. Is this just instant speed removal for the Red Dragon? Play Brunor and then equip the hand for free. Do I play Brunor and equip the hand for free? Do I equip the hand for 2 and hold something on watch? If I play Brunor, I can't hold something on watch. If they have instant speed removal, I'm very dead. 4, 5, 6, 7. I feel like I'm safer against instant speed removal if I just go for the equip for 2 and hold up something on watch. Okay, they just don't have it. Sorry for the slow play, opponent. But I am a very afeared. And I know there is like a 2-mana instant speed removal spell. There's like Burning Hands, but I guess that only does 2 damage because it's not a green creature. So they could have had Dragon Flame, though. 3 damage at instant speed. However, if they had a dragon in hand, they could reveal the dragon and then kill it and win on the crackback. Power Word Kill would be another instant speed removal spell, but that can't kill dragons. So most of the 2-mana removal would almost definitely not kill it. I think the one out would be a Dragon's Flame with a dragon in hand to do 4 damage before Hand of Vecna's ability resolves. Or just have a big enough dragon to do, 6 or 7 or however big it was at the end. That was a really, that was a scary game, pretty close one there. Opponent did get to do the Sepulchre Ghoul Active Treason thing. Was pretty scared of it happening again at some point. But we got to do our Hand of Vecna turn 3 that game, and that would take us to victory as it did. Alright, we're on the play. Get to play a turn 2 Hobgoblin Captain. Turn 3, either of these is great. Yeah, super solid hand here. We'll Evolving Wilds, grab a red source because we have multiple cards that cost double red, none that cost double white. We have Red Dragon, Hulking Bugbear, etc. I was just thinking if I titled my drafts like Friends episodes, it would be like the draft where Gauntlet is sleepy. Or the one where Gauntlet is sleepy. Reaper's Talisman, turn 1 from our opponent. A very scary card. Whatever they equip gets Death Touch whenever it attacks and drains us for 2 life every time it attacks. Really, really good card here. We're going to go for every trade we possibly can because we are going to lose every race here because of this Reaper's Talisman. Do we want to see if we want to trade a Bugbear off? Or do we want to just play a Valor Singer and see if they trade captains here? I think I'm going to see if they trade captains here, and if they don't trade captains, then we'll attempt to trade Valor Singer off into their captain, I guess. Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Well, I didn't have to worry about them coming in for any life drain next turn anyway. Plundering Barbarian. Oh yeah, we have our own Barbarian. I could have just blown up their talisman right there. I guess I can do it now. My bad. But it didn't matter, they didn't equip it anyway. Yeah, let's get rid of that thing before it does anything. We could play a haster here, but I want to make sure they just never even get to equip that thing. They're down to 2 cards in hand now, so they got to be some pretty solid stuff to make it out of this now. Because now our field is just big and spooky. We trade Barbarians here if I attack all. Yeah, I think I just spread my power onto everything but the Barbarian, because they're most likely to trade Barbarians here over anything else. So get the most damage that way. Yep, hit for 7. They're down to 10 now. They do get to play a Grim Wanderer because of that, but we can trade into that pretty easily. And a Skullport Merchant. Alright, Skullport Merchant can definitely get them out of this. Skullport Merchant allows them to draw cards off these treasures. They have 2 right now. They get to draw at least 2 more cards. So that puts the game right back in their favor in terms of card advantage. They're still definitely on the defensive, but they're going to have more cards than us, whereas right before that turn I was definitely feeling really good with multiple cards on board and them only having 2 cards in hand. As it stands, I think we definitely move the boots there. Make sure anything would trade with Grim Wanderer and then attack all. And they will probably trade Grim Wanderer with the Valor Singer here, is my guess. But we get 4 damage in, they're down to 6. Sure, they can draw cards, but it costs them mana to do so. Which makes sure that they're not just like dumping a bunch of stuff out. Alright, there's a Chaos Channeler, and they can sack the treasure to draw a card. Definitely not a fan of that Chaos Channeler, because now that trades off with our Hoarding Ogre. Merchant blocks the Bugbear. Guess we move the boots over then. They draw another card here. They are definitely in a world in which they can absolutely stabilize. I'm going to move the Boots of Speed over to the Bugbear, because I would rather them kill the Bugbear than the Hoarding Ogre, because the Hoarding Ogre has an ability every time it attacks. So this way, if they want to kill something on blocks here, they can't also block with Skullport Merchant, or we kill Skullport Merchant. So here we might get 4 damage in, or we get them to trade with Bugbear instead of Hoarding Ogre. We get to keep the treasure token ability. Alright, cool. We got to keep the creature that has an ability. So Dawnbringer Cleric is a 2/3 haste, if nothing else. They have nothing that cares about what's in their graveyard. No enchantments out right now. Do I just play it right now in case I draw like a dragon? I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 mana and no card draw in this deck. I think I just hold on to Dawnbringer Cleric so they don't know what's coming. I mean, I guess no, I probably should still play Dawnbringer Cleric because it does get in for 1 more damage if I draw another creature. Because if I draw another creature, I can't give both of them haste. Alright, Price of Loyalty. Disgusting with Skullport Merchant here. Because, oh my god, yeah, we just gave them 3 card draws and lost our Hoarding Ogre there. So it's a removal spell plus a draw 3 for our opponent. Very disgusting. Well, now we're kind of just all in on drawing a Thunder Dragon here, or a Red Dragon. That would be immediate lethal, but at least this way they're tapped out, because they didn't expect good old Dawnbringer Cleric hit you for 2. Haha! Go down to 4. I have greatly increased the amount of outs I have. However, they have a million cards now, so they probably have defense. 3 is not a million, but definitely feels that way when it's 3 versus 0 in terms of cards in hand. Gonna start holding on to these lands now. Probably should have done it earlier just in case we draw Hand of Vecna. Well, our Hand of Vecna is going to be very fueled. Yeah. Skullport Merchant is absolutely taking this game from us. That's 2 more card draws for them, if nothing else. There's the Hand of Vecna, so I did get punished for running out the lands. Could be potentially like +2/+2 more than it is right now. But regardless, they have like several 1/1s to chump block and draw a card off of. I'm pretty sure we're completely out of this at this point. They even have removal for our 1/3. Yeah, I'm surprised by the choice to just kill it immediately, because it doesn't give trample or anything, and since you were just going to sack a goblin anyway, I would have just went for the chump, draw the card. Hold the removal in case something scarier than a 1/3 shows up and gets booted up. But I don't know what's in their hand. They might have a lot more instant speed removal. It's quite possible. And they just feel very safe to just get it off the board so they can start slapping in. Well, there goes hand. We hardly knew ye. $21 cards left now. Don't remember what, if any, outs we have. Just Red Dragon, really. Brunor. Brunor's cool, but it's not Red Dragon, so I think that's it. Block one of their cards and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Brunor doesn't give trample, right? Nope. That is gonna be game. How sick would it have been to draw a Red Dragon there? And just, yep, when this enters the battlefield, deal 4 to each opponent. You're welcome. Lovely day. Massive bummer of a game there. I could see it slipping away the moment that Sacrificer hit the board, the Merchant. Merchant hit the board, I'm like, ooh, we are in for a bad time. And certainly enough. The card did end up drawing them like at least 7 cards throughout the game. The act of treason to steal our Hoarding Ogre and then get treasures to sacrifice was a pivotal, incredibly disgusting turn. So very well played from our opponent for the massive comeback there. Here's our friend the Red Dragon. 1 game too late. Another black-red deck, starting with Sepulchre Ghoul and Warlock class again. Red-black is considered to be the best archetype in the format, and I don't know how heavily the bots draft stuff. I know they definitely don't draft the Act of Treason highly enough, I've heard. It's possible that in quick draft, just forcing red-black is going to be pretty common, so we might run up against a lot of this today. I think this is our 3rd red-black matchup, but I'm not certain. Let's just get our Haster out here and slap on in. I don't have a 5-drop to use our improvised weaponry treasure token for, so let's just get the damage in. And if we want to improvise weaponry, we could also just do it next turn to get rid of the ghoul. And then we'll still have that treasure token all set up and ready for Red Dragon. Definitely an argument for just plopping down the improvised weaponry right there, because then if they play any creatures this turn, Sepulchre Ghoul's out of range from the improvised weaponry, so if I really wanted to kill the ghoul, I definitely should have played weaponry just immediately. But I feel ghoul's likely to get cleared out eventually anyway. I suppose if they have a bunch of active treasons and they don't have the Merchant, then the ghoul is their main goal to do that kind of stuff. I think I'm playing a Hoarding Ogre here. I think I'm just trying to stay aggressive. Get more 3/3s out. Would be quite surprised to see a block here, but we could see what that means. Improvised weaponry is a sorcery, of course. This could be a Feign Death. It's Ray of Enfeeblement. Okay. Hoarding Ogre it is. I feel like we probably should have just gotten the ghoul out of here. Turn our Hoarding Ogre into a 1/1. And then blow it up with the weaponry. Alright. Really wanted to kill the ogre there. Fair enough, but we got 2 more to spare. The ogres are coming. And I think I just slap another down. If I'm weaponrying here, I'm just killing a 2/2, even if I target the ghoul. Get the ogre down. If they attack, slap that on the ghoul as blocker. They'll have to lose both creatures to kill it. But they did spend 2 removal spells on our first ogre, so maybe Maybe they're willing to spend 2 creatures on the second one, which would be very good for us because that would mean that the rest of our hand probably gets to come out with not much retaliation. Death Priest of Merkel is very bad for us. Now if they sacrifice Barbarian, that's a 5/4, which kills our Ogre. And the Death Priest spits out a 2/2. We're definitely going to improvise weaponry to kill the Death Priest here, I think. But I kind of have to just take the damage here. One card in hand, and they're holding in their second main phase. Wonder what it is. Could also just be Sepulchre Ghoul's ability here. They're thinking about sacrificing the Barbarian to turn into a skeleton. Don't think that's worth it unless they wanted to do that before damage to get a little bit more damage in. Let's get rid of that Death Priest. Sacrifice it to draw a couple cards and get a treasure. If we block Sepulchre Ghoul with a 3/3, we trade into the Ghoul if they sacrifice another card in addition. So I kind of like just holding back the Ogre again. I could make sure that we have the treasure token for the red dragon if I attack with it. I could also play a Valor Singer if I attack with it, but I think just playing a Keen-Eared Sentry and holding back for blocks is probably the best idea here, because we're down to 8 life. I definitely want to have good blocks for the Sepulchre Ghoul. It did pan out pretty well that we didn't end up using the improvised weaponry, because I think that the Death Priest would have absolutely taken over this game with a sack outlet with the potential to keep replacing these little 1/1 skeletons. That would have been very scary, and also just the +1/+1 it was giving the Ghoul was pretty bad for us. Alright, make Barbarian better, trade our 2/1 into their 2/2. There's a Hoarding Ogre of their own. Get ready for all the Hoarding Ogre combat. Plate Armor is going to cost 3 to equip. We need another mana to play it and equip it in the same turn. I think I just need another 3/3, because they have 2 3/3s and a 4/3 out, potentially. Gotta make sure I have the blockers to trade off here. They attack all, we can block everything but the Ghoul. Make trades. Or I guess if they attack all, we would block the Ghoul and the Hoarding Ogre probably. Warlock class probably just kills us. Price of Loyalty definitely kills us. We block one of these, take a damage because one of our creatures died, and the rest all get in for a minimum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So even without the life loss from Warlock class, we were already dead. Well, hopefully we don't play against Rakdos Sacrifice again. This might convince me very quickly to just stick to Premier Draft. But I suppose in that game we could have definitely killed that Sepulchre Ghoul early on in the game. Stop them from sacrificing things with the Act of Treason, but the Act of Treason was game regardless at the end, even without a sack outlet. Rakdos sack number 4? trade for Shambling Ghast if we block. They get a treasure token out of it. But it's out of here. Don't think we do that. Improvised weaponry. Not going to kill a Sepulchre Ghoul. Minimus containment would, but they can use the treasures pretty well. Bugbear's not great here. They can go for like a double block and get a treasure token out of it. Or they can just not block and crack back at us much more aggressively than we can hit them here. I don't love the idea of using Minimus Containment on a Sepulchre Ghoul. When it's pretty possible they play like a red dragon or a black dragon late game that just absolutely crushes us. The problem with not getting rid of the ghoul as quickly as possible is now if they just have Price of Loyalties, we lose on the spot. But I guess it's kind of the question, would we rather lose to a Price of Loyalty or lose to a red dragon or a black dragon? That's the question on how we want to use our Minimus Containment. Ooh, or the real easy choice. I'll trade my Hulking Bugbear for 2 of your creatures. And get rid of Sepulchre Ghoul. Oh no, unless this treasure token is a trick. It's all a ruse. Raven Fablement, alright. Great. There's a pair of goblins, there's hoarding ogres, a pair of hoarding ogres you could even say. An improvised weaponry. Even if we like play a pair of goblins and try to block the ghoul, they just sacrifice something into response because they can do that at instant speed. They have 1 card left in hand. At this point, did we just minimus the ghoul? No, we can just play our own ogre. Trade ogre into ghoul. Actually, now that I think of it, they didn't need a trick there to destroy me. Shambling Ghast gives -1/-1 when it dies, so Shambling Ghast in conjunction with Sepulchre Ghoul is also ridiculous. Because you sacrifice the Ghast to the ghoul and you give -1/-1 to whatever I blocked with. Turn it into a 2/2 instead of a 3/3, and now the ghoul just eats it. And for that reason, I do want to get rid of this Shambling Ghast. So I'm just going to get rid of the Ghast right now, so that I could potentially trade a 3/3 for the ghoul later. Ooh, that is removal. That will work. We could even do 2 removal spells if I improvised weaponry and then sack a treasure for something on watch. They get to keep a hoarding ogre around and 1 card in hand. If I try to weaponry the ghoul, they sacrifice something else in response. I guess the only thing I can weaponry is the barbarian anyway, so I might as well target the ghoul and just try. We can just pretend we targeted the barbarian. Actually, wait, no. This is the way we have to do it, because this is the only way that we guarantee that we get the treasure token. All right, almost tired enough to have completely thrown this game away, because I almost didn't get the treasure token there. If I targeted the 2/2, they could sacrifice it in response. I'd no longer have a legal target, and because of that, I would. Well, now I'm just going to cry, because I played this, I think, as well as I could at this point in the game. Because I have the Minimus Containment that I saved for that giant mythic rare dragon, but Hoarding Ogre is just going to kill me, because I minimize that and then just take 3 from Hoarding Ogre. They're doing 11 right now, so I'm at 1 life. This was a rough end to the draft, but I definitely got more wins than I think I probably should have. Four and 3 it is, but yeah, definitely not a fan of running up against Rakdos Sec the vast majority of the games. That is one of the issues with Quick Draft almost every time around. There will always be stuff that is relatively underdrafted based on how powerful it is, and it usually ends up being incredibly popular. I don't think playing against Rakdos Sack is as annoying as playing against Mill was back in Throne of Eldraine, one of the most historically bad Quick Draft formats. I also don't think it's as bad as Quick Draft of Ikoria, where everyone was playing Cycling, because Cycling was by far the best deck, and it was underdrafted by the bots. But it's definitely rarely a good time when you spend 50% of your matches playing against the same deck. That's one of my least favorite things to do. It's a big reason that I love Limited over Constructed, is because in Constructed, I don't love playing the same deck over and over and over again, or playing against the same deck over and over and over again. So with Limited, even if it is like just 10 different archetypes, at least you play different matchups of what archetype you're playing and they're playing, and there's different cards within the decks that change the makeup quite a bit. So definitely always a bit of a bummer to not have a huge variety in the gameplay, but still a pretty decent draft all around, probably better than I deserved in how I drafted and played here today. Definitely a bit out of it, bit zoned out, but I want to make sure to get you all some content. I realize that I have not in quite a while, and so I am definitely sorry about that, but I have been quite busy with work stuff lately. I work retail, and it is I work retail in a college town, and it is August, right in the move-in season. So it's basically the busiest time of year outside of Christmas. So been pretty exhausted with just work-life stuff in general lately. So the videos have taken a seat on the back burner for a while. But I am moving into overnights next week, and once I get more well-adjusted into that, I'll probably be back to recording a few videos on my days off as usual. Be consistently hitting 4 or 5 videos a week as I used to do, hopefully. But anyways, that'll end today's video. I know it was definitely a little lower energy, maybe a little more little less thought out, that kind of stuff, but I hope it was still enjoyable. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like, comment, or subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know that you did and you want to see more of the content. And as always, I'll see you again very soon for some more Magic Arena.